The courtroom is silent, the kind of silence that feels like the world is holding its breath. At the defendant's table sit 3 people, dressed in expensive designer suits. Emeka Okonkwo, 45, with cold eyes and a practiced smile. Ngozi Okonkwo Adebisi, 42, dripping in gold jewelry, her face a mask of indignation, and Chukwu Okonkwo, 38, the youngest, fidgeting nervously with his Rolex watch. They are the children of one of Nigeria's wealthiest men. Or rather, they were. Across from them, at the plaintiff's table, sits a woman who doesn't belong in this world of marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Mercy Adebayo, 32 years old, wearing a simple but neat Ankara dress, her hands clasped tightly in prayer. Beside her, barrister Tunde, 35, lean and intense, his worn leather briefcase a stark contrast to the crocodile skin cases of the opposing lawyers. And in the witness stand, trembling but upright, sits an old man. Chief Samuel Okonkwo, 68 years old, clean-shaven now, his grey hair neatly trimmed, his eyes clear and sharp. He wears a traditional agbada, white and dignified, but his hands shake as he grips the rail. This is not how his children remember him. The last time they saw their father, he was filthy, broken, drowning in alcohol and madness on the streets of Lagos. They thought they had won. They thought they had buried him forever. They were wrong. Justice Olumide Adewale, a stern man in his 60s, adjusts his glasses and looks at Chief Okonkwo. His voice is quiet but carries weight. Chief Okonkwo, he says, you have accused your own children, your flesh and blood, of stealing your entire fortune, forging documents to declare you mentally incompetent, and abandoning you to die on the streets. These are serious allegations. Chief's voice cracks, but he speaks clearly. Yes, my lord. Every word is true. Ngozi leaps to her feet, her voice shrill. This is madness. Our father is senile. He's been manipulated by that woman. She points at Mercy with trembling rage. She found him drunk in a gutter, and now she wants our inheritance. The judge's gavel crashes down. Bang. Madam, you will sit down and wait your turn. Ngozi sits, but her eyes burn with hatred toward Mercy. Tunde stands slowly, his voice steady. My lord, if I may, the evidence will show that Chief Okonkwo is of sound mind. In fact, it will show that his children systematically destroyed him, stole from him, and tried to erase him from existence. And if not for the courage of one woman, he glances at Mercy, their eyes meeting for a brief charged moment, this injustice would have succeeded. The judge nods. Then let us hear the full story. Chief Okonkwo, begin from the beginning. Chief takes a deep breath, and the courtroom leans forward to listen. The rain fell like bullets on the rusted tin roofs of Ajegunle, one of Lagos's poorest neighborhoods. Water flooded the unpaved streets, turning them into rivers of mud and garbage. Mercy Adebayo trudged through the downpour, her cheap plastic umbrella doing little to keep her dry. Her bones ached from 12 hours of scrubbing floors at a corporate office in Victoria Island. Her hands were raw, her back screamed in pain, but she kept walking. She had to get home to Blessing. Her daughter, 8 years old, bright as the sun. Her only reason to keep fighting was waiting. Mercy finally reached her compound, a crumbling 3-story building that housed 20 families in spaces meant for 5. She climbed the narrow concrete stairs to the 2nd floor, her soaked shoes squeaking with every step, and there, slumped against her door, was a man. At first, she thought he was dead. He was old, maybe 60, maybe 70, thin as a skeleton, wearing rags that might have once been clothes. His beard was long and matted with filth. His skin was covered in sores. The stench of alcohol and urine rolled off him in waves. Mama, don't go near him. A neighbor, Mrs. Folake, leaned out of her window. That man has been there since afternoon. He's probably mad. Dangerous! Mercy's first instinct was to step over him, go inside, lock the door. It's what anyone would do. Lagos streets were full of homeless people, drug addicts, mentally ill men and women cast out by society. You couldn't help them all, but then the man groaned. His eyes fluttered open, bloodshot, yellow with jaundice, but somehow sad, deeply, profoundly sad. He looked at Mercy and whispered, Please, just let me die here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Then his eyes closed again. Mercy stood frozen, rain pouring over her. Her mind screamed, Walk away. You have enough problems. Your daughter is waiting. You don't know this man, but her heart whispered something else. Something her mother had taught her before she died. Mercy, your name is not an accident. God gave it to you for a reason. Show mercy even when it's hard. She made her decision. Sir, she said, kneeling in the rain, touching his burning forehead. Sir, can you stand? I'll help you, Mrs. Folek gasped. Mercy, are you crazy? That man could be a criminal, a rapist. He's dying, Mercy said quietly. And I can't let him die on my doorstep. With strength she didn't know she had, Mercy lifted the old man. He weighed almost nothing, and dragged him inside her tiny one-room apartment. Her daughter, Blessing, jumped off the sleeping mat, her eyes wide with fear. Mama, who is that? The man who needs help, Mercy said, lowering him onto their only couch, a torn, patched thing salvaged from a roadside years ago. Blessing, heat some water. We need to clean him. But Mama, Blessing. Mercy's voice was firm but gentle. What did Jesus say about helping strangers? Blessing bit her lip, then nodded. That when we help them, we help him. Exactly. For the next 3 hours Mercy worked. She stripped off the man's rags and burned them in the compound incinerator. She bathed him, ignoring the stares and whispers of neighbors who thought she'd lost her mind. She washed his wounds with antiseptic. She fed him watered-down Gary and sugar, spoonfuls at a time because his stomach couldn't handle more. He drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling words she couldn't understand. Once he grabbed her wrist with surprising strength and whispered, my children did this. Then he passed out again. By midnight he was sleeping peacefully on her couch, covered in her only spare blanket. Blessing slept on the mat, while Mercy sat in a plastic chair, too exhausted to move, watching the old man breathe. What have I done? She wondered. What if he really is dangerous? But looking at his face, now clean, the grime washed away, she saw something. Beneath the ravages of alcoholism and homelessness there was dignity, the bone structure of his face, the shape of his hands. These were not the hands of a man born to the streets. Who are you? She thought she would find out soon enough. Chief Samuel Okonkwo woke to the smell of a kara frying and the sound of a child's laughter. For a moment he thought he was dead, or dreaming. It had been so long since he'd smelled real food, heard real joy. He opened his eyes. Sunlight streamed through a small window. He was on a couch, old, torn but clean. A thin blanket covered him. He wore clothes that weren't his, a man's oversized shirt and wrapper tied at the waist. A little girl sat at a small table doing homework. She looked up and gasped, Mama! Mama, the old man is awake. A woman appeared from behind a curtain that separated the tiny apartment's cooking area from the living space. She was young, early 30s maybe, with kind eyes and a tired face. She wore a faded house dress and her hair was wrapped in a simple scarf. Good morning, she said softly, approaching with a cup of water. How are you feeling? Chief tried to speak, but his throat was raw. He took the water and drank slowly. Finally he croaked, Where am I? My home, the woman said. Aje Gunle. I found you outside my door 3 days ago. You were very sick. 3 days. Chief looked down at himself. Clean, clothed, alive. This woman had cared for him for 3 days. Why? He whispered, Why help me? The woman smiled, sad but genuine. Because you needed help. My name is Mercy. This is my daughter, Blessing. The little girl waved shyly. Chief felt something break inside him. For 2 years he had lived on the streets. Hundreds of people had walked past him every day, stepping over him, spitting at him, calling him a madman. And this woman, who clearly had nothing, had saved his life. Tears rolled down his weathered cheeks. Thank you, he choked out. You don't know. You don't know what you've done. You don't have to thank me, Mercy said. Just rest. When you're stronger, you can tell me your story, if you want to. Over the next week, Chief's body healed. The alcohol slowly left his system, the shaking, the sweating, the nightmares. Mercy fed him small meals, let him sleep, asked nothing. But one evening, as Mercy and Blessing ate their small dinner of rice and stew, Chief finally spoke. My name, he said quietly, is Samuel Okonkwo, and I used to be a very rich man. Mercy looked up, surprised. I owned oil companies, construction firms, real estate across Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt. I was worth over 50 billion naira. Blessing's eyes went wide. 50 billion. Chief smiled bitterly. Yes, my dear, but I don't have a single kobo now, because my children, my own flesh and blood, stole everything. Mercy set down her spoon. What happened? And Chief told them. Chief Samuel Okonkwo had built his empire from nothing. Born in a small Igbo village, he'd worked as a mechanic, saved every naira, invested wisely, and by age 40 he owned his first oil service company. By 50, he was one of the wealthiest men in Nigeria. He married late, a beautiful woman named Adaeze, who gave him 3 children, Emeka, Ngozi, and Chukwu. He loved them fiercely, gave them everything, the best schools, international universities, luxury beyond measure. But wealth, he learned too late, can poison the soul. His children grew up spoiled, entitled, greedy. They spent money faster than he made it. When he tried to discipline them, they called him old-fashioned, controlling, cruel. And then Adaeze died. Cancer took her in 6 brutal months. And with her death, Chief's world collapsed. He fell into depression, stopped eating, stopped caring. He drank to numb the pain, first a glass at night, then a bottle, then more. His children saw weakness, and they pounced. Father is losing his mind, Emeka told the board of directors. Look at him, drunk every day, making irrational decisions. He's going to destroy everything we've built. They held a family meeting. Chief, in his grief and fog of alcohol, barely understood what was happening. We think it's best if you step down, Father, Ngozi said sweetly, holding his hand like she cared. Let us run the companies, you rest. You've earned it. Foolishly, trusting his children, Chief agreed. But stepping down wasn't enough for them. Within weeks, they had him declared mentally incompetent. They paid doctors to write false reports diagnosing him with dementia, psychosis, alcoholic brain damage. They bribed lawyers to push through guardianship papers, making Emeka his legal guardian. And then they had him committed. The private facility was a nightmare. They drugged him so heavily he couldn't think, couldn't speak, couldn't fight. When he tried to tell staff he was being held against his will, they just increased his medication. Your son says you're paranoid, the nurses said. Delusional. These pills will help. For months, Chief lived in a haze. He barely remembered his own name. Meanwhile, his children looted his empire. They transferred companies into their names, sold properties and pocketed the money, emptied bank accounts. By the time Chief finally escaped the facility, barely coherent but lucid enough to know he had to run, they had taken everything. He went to the police. I'm Samuel Okonkwo. My children have stolen my fortune. I need help. The officers laughed. You're Samuel Okonkwo, the billionaire? They looked at the filthy, trembling man before them. Sure, sir. And I'm the president. Now get out before we arrest you for wasting our time. He tried lawyers, journalists, former business associates. No one believed him. His children had done their job too well. They'd spread rumors that their father had lost his mind, that he was dangerous, that anyone who helped him would regret it. Broken. With nowhere to go, Chief returned to drinking. It was easier than feeling the pain. He ended up on the streets, just another forgotten homeless man in a city full of them, until a woman named Mercy found him on her doorstep. When Chief finished his story, Mercy sat in silence, her heart pounding. Blessing whispered, Mama, is it true? Is he really a billionaire? I don't know, baby, Mercy said honestly. But she looked at Chief, really looked at him. The way he spoke, the vocabulary he used, the pain in his eyes. This was not the story of a madman. This was the story of a man destroyed by greed. Can you prove any of this? Mercy asked. Chief nodded slowly. If I can get access to records, old documents. There's a bank vault I opened before everything fell apart. I hid copies of original company documents, property deeds, my real will. But I can't access it without ID, and my children destroyed all my documents. Mercy's mind raced. What about people who knew you? Business partners? Friends? Most turned their backs when my children spread the rumors, but there's one man, Chief Adebayo, my old business partner. We built our first company together 40 years ago. If anyone would recognize me, it's him. Where is he? He runs a construction company in Lekki. Mercy made her decision. Then we go see him. Tomorrow. Chief looked at her with something like hope. You believe me? I don't know yet, Mercy said honestly, but you deserve a chance to prove the truth. And if what you say is real, then what your children did is evil. Someone has to fight for you. But why you? Chief asked, his voice breaking. You don't know me. You have nothing. Why risk? Because, Mercy said simply, it's the right thing to do. That night, Chief wept. For the first time in 2 years, someone believed him. Someone cared. The next morning, Mercy took a day off work, losing a day's pay she couldn't afford, and brought Chief to Lekki. They took crowded Danfo buses, Chief wearing borrowed clothes, Mercy's life savings, 12,000 naira, tucked in her bra in case of thieves. Chief Adeyemi's office was a gleaming tower of glass and steel. Security stopped them at the gate. "We're here to see Chief Adeyemi," Mercy said. The guard looked them up and down, a poor woman and an old man in borrowed clothes. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but—" "Then you can't enter. Please," Chief Samuel said, stepping forward. "Tell Chief Adeyemi that Samuel Okonkwo is here. He'll know who I am," the guard laughed. "Samuel Okonkwo? The billionaire? Sir, I don't know what scam you're running, but it's not a scam." Mercy's voice rose. "This man is telling the truth. His children stole everything from him. If you would just—" "Madam, leave before I call the police." They were kicked out. Mercy stood on the street, frustration boiling over. "This is impossible. No one will listen." "I told you," Chief said quietly. "No one believes the poor." But Mercy wasn't ready to give up. She started asking around, talking to shop owners, security guards, anyone who would listen. Finally, a young receptionist at a nearby law office overheard her story. "You need a lawyer," the woman said. "Someone willing to take on a hard case." "I know someone. Barrister Tunde Adeleke. He's young, but he's good. And he actually cares about justice, not just money." She gave Mercy an address. Tunde Adeleke's office was a single room above a pharmacy in Yaba. The paint was peeling. The sign outside was hand-painted. Inside, files were stacked in precarious towers. A single fan battled the heat, and Tunde himself sat at a dented metal desk, reviewing a case. He was handsome in an understated way, lean, with intelligent eyes and a perpetual look of exhaustion. His shirt was clean but worn. His tie was slightly crooked. When Mercy knocked, he looked up, surprised. "Can I help you?" Mercy stepped inside, Chief behind her. "Are you Barrister Tunde?" "Yes, I need your help. This is Chief Samuel Okonkwo." Wait." Tunde stood, his eyes narrowing. "Samuel Okonkwo? The industrialist? You've heard of him?" Mercy's heart leaped. "Of course. Everyone in business law has heard of him, but—" Tunde looked at the old man in borrowed clothes. "Chief Okonkwo disappeared years ago. His children run his companies now. They said he died." "I didn't die," Chief said quietly. "They tried to kill me, but I survived, and this woman saved my life." Tunde listened as they told the story. His expression shifted from skepticism to shock to anger. When they finished, he sat back, rubbing his temples. If this is true, this is one of the biggest cases of elder abuse and financial fraud in Nigerian history." "So you believe us?" Mercy asked. Tunde looked at her, really looked at her. There was something in her eyes, a fire, a determination. She was beautiful, yes, but more than that, she was good. Genuinely, deeply good. The kind of person who saved a dying stranger without expecting anything in return. He felt something stir in his chest, something he hadn't felt in a long time. "I want to help her. No, I want to impress her. I believe you deserve a fair investigation," Tunde said carefully. "But I have to be honest. This case is going to be nearly impossible to win. Chief Okonkwo's children have billions. They have the best lawyers. They have connections to judges, politicians, and we have nothing. We have the truth," Mercy said fiercely. Tunde smiled despite himself. "The truth doesn't always win in court, Miss Mercy Adebayo. Miss Mercy." He said her name like a prayer. "I'm going to be straight with you. I'm a small-time lawyer. I handle petty disputes, divorces, land cases. I've never handled anything this big. If I take this case, I'll be making enemies of some of the most powerful people in Lagos, and I don't know if I can win. But will you try?" Mercy's eyes locked onto his. Tunde felt his heart race. He should say no. He should protect his small, struggling practice. He should be smart. But looking at Mercy, at her courage, her faith, her refusal to give up, he knew he couldn't walk away. "Yes," he heard himself say. "I'll try." Mercy's face lit up with a smile that made the dingy office feel like sunrise. "Thank you. Thank you so much." And in that moment, Tunde knew he wasn't just taking a case. He was walking into something that would change his life forever. Over the next month, Tunde threw himself into the case. He worked 18-hour days, digging through public records, tracking down witnesses, building a file from nothing. Mercy came to his office every evening after work, bringing him food she'd cooked, jollof rice, moi plantain. "You need to eat," she'd say simply. Tunde would look up from his papers, exhausted, and see her there, this woman who worked brutal hours as a cleaner, who had a daughter to care for, who had no reason to invest so much in a stranger's fight, and he'd feel something warm bloom in his chest. They worked side by side. Mercy had no legal training, but she was smart, resourceful. She talked to people in Chief's old neighborhood, tracked down former employees who remembered him. One night, around midnight, Tunde found a crucial lead, the bank vault Chief had mentioned. It existed, and if Chief could prove his identity, they could access it. "I found it," Tunde shouted. Mercy, who'd been organizing files, jumped up. "Really?" "Yes. If we can get Chief properly identified, we can access the documents. That's our smoking gun." Without thinking, Mercy threw her arms around Tunde in excitement. "You're amazing." Tunde froze, acutely aware of her closeness, the warmth of her, the smell of shea butter in her hair, the way she fit perfectly in his arms. Mercy realized what she'd done and stepped back, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Don't apologize," Tunde said softly. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, unspoken, electric, but Mercy looked away first. "It's late. I should go. Blessing is with a neighbor. I'll walk you to the bus stop," Tunde offered. They walked through the quiet Lagos night, their footsteps echoing. Tunde wanted to say 1,000 things, but he kept silent. "She's a client. Don't complicate this. Don't ruin it." But as they reached the bus stop, Mercy turned to him. "Tunde, yes? Why are you really doing this? Helping us?" He could have lied. Could have said it was for justice, for principle, for his career. Instead, he told the truth. "At first, I wanted to impress you." Mercy blinked, surprised. "But now," Tunde continued, "I'm doing it because you showed me what real courage looks like. You taught me that some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds are impossible. You made me want to be better." Mercy's eyes glistened with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in us, for believing in him." The bus arrived. Mercy climbed on and Tunde watched it disappear into the night. He was falling for her. He knew it, and it terrified him. A week later, everything went wrong. Tunde arrived at his office to find the door kicked in. Papers were everywhere. Files destroyed, his computer smashed, his desk overturned. On the wall, spray-painted in red, "Drop the case or die." His hands shook as he called the police. They came, took a report, and left. "Probably thieves," they said, uninterested. But Tunde knew better. That evening, when Mercy arrived, she found him sitting in the wreckage, his head in his hands. "Tunde." She rushed to him. "What happened?" "They found out," he said hollowly. "The Okonkwo family knows I'm building a case. They did this. They're warning me to stop." "Did they take anything important?" "No, I keep all the crucial documents in a safe deposit box." "But Mercy—" He looked up at her, his face gray. "They know where I work. They know who I am. This won't be the last warning." Mercy knelt beside him. "Then we'll be careful." Mercy, you don't understand. These people have killed before. I've been reading about them. Competitors who disappeared, whistleblowers who had accidents. If we keep pushing, they won't just destroy my office. They'll come after us. After you. After Blessing." Mercy's face paled, but her jaw set firm. "So what are you saying? We give up?" "I'm saying—" Tunde's voice broke. "I'm saying maybe I'm not strong enough for this. Maybe I was a fool to think I could take on billionaires with unlimited resources and no conscience." Mercy stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She slapped him, not hard, just enough to shock him. "Don't you dare," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "Don't you dare quit on me now. I have watched you work yourself to exhaustion for a man you don't even know. I have seen you fight when everyone said you couldn't win. You are not weak, Tunde Adeleke. You are the bravest man I've ever met." Tunde looked at her, stunned. "And if you're scared," Mercy continued, tears streaming down her face now, "then be scared. I'm terrified too, but Chief has no one else. We are his only hope. And if we walk away, if we let evil win because we were afraid, then what's the point of being alive?" Tunde stood slowly. He looked at the destruction around him, at the threat on his wall, at Mercy's tear-stained face, and he made his choice. "You're right," he said quietly. "I'm not giving up. But Mercy, from now on we do this smart. We don't take chances. We don't meet in public. We protect you and Blessing because—" His voice dropped to a whisper. "Because I can't lose you." Mercy's breath caught. "Tunde," he stepped closer. "I know this is the worst possible time. I know I should focus on the case. But Mercy, I need you to know, I'm not doing this just for Chief anymore. I'm doing it for you, because watching you fight for someone who can't fight for himself, it made me realize what I've been missing my whole life: purpose, meaning, and love." The word hung in the air between them. "I'm falling in love with you, Mercy Adebayo," Tunde said. "And I'll fight this case to the end, not because I want to win, but because I want to be worthy of you." Mercy closed the distance between them. She reached up and touched his face gently. "You already are," she whispered, and then they kissed. It was soft at first, tentative, like they were both afraid to break something precious. But then it deepened, months of tension, fear, admiration, and longing pouring into that single moment. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. "We'll win this," Mercy said. "Together, together," Tunde agreed. And somewhere in that destroyed office, amid the wreckage and threats, something beautiful was born. 3 days later, they made their move. Through connections Tunde had cultivated, they obtained a court order to exhume Chief Samuel Okonkwo's old medical records from before his children had him committed. The records showed his fingerprints, dental work, and DNA samples, all taken during a routine executive health screening 15 years prior. Armed with those records and a sympathetic judge, they got permission to access the bank vault. The bank manager was skeptical. "This man claims to be Samuel Okonkwo?" "Yes," Tunde said firmly, "and we have biometric evidence to prove it." They took Chief's fingerprints, ran them through the system. The manager's face went pale. "My God, it really is him." The vault was opened. Inside, stacks of documents, original company and corporation papers with Chief's signature, property deeds, share certificates, bank account details from before the takeover, photographs of Chief with presidents, governors, business titans, and most importantly, Chief Samuel Okonkwo's original last will and testament, dated before Adaisy's death. In it, he left everything to his wife and, after her, to be divided equally among his children, provided they cared for him in his old age and maintained the companies honorably. "There's a clause," Tunde said, reading carefully. "If any heir is found to have acted against the testator's interests, committed fraud, or caused him harm, they forfeit their inheritance entirely." Chief looked at the document with tears in his eyes. "I wrote that as insurance. I never thought—" "Your children never thought you'd survive to use it," Mercy said softly. "They had their evidence. Now came the hard part, filing the case." When Tunde filed a lawsuit against Emeka Ngozi and Chukwu Okonkwo on behalf of their father, Lagos exploded with gossip. "Samuel Okonkwo is alive." "Impossible. He died years ago." "This is a scam. Someone is pretending to be him." The Okonkwo siblings held a press conference. Emeka, smooth and confident, faced the cameras. "This is a heartbreaking situation. A con artist has found a mentally ill homeless man, coached him to pretend to be our late father, and is now trying to steal our family's legacy. We will fight this frivolous lawsuit and expose these criminals." Ngozi wept on camera. "Our father was a great man. To see him disrespected like this breaks my heart." Public opinion turned against Tunde and Mercy. Social media called them frauds, gold diggers, scammers. Mercy's neighbors shunned her. Her daughter was bullied at school. "Your mama is a thief." Kids taunted Blessing, but Mercy held strong. "The truth will come out," she told Blessing. "Trust God." The trial began 3 months later. The Okonkwo siblings hired Chief Barrister Adebayo, one of Nigeria's most expensive and ruthless lawyers. His strategy was simple: paint Chief Samuel as a mentally ill imposter, and Mercy as a manipulative woman who seduced a senile old man to steal his imagined fortune. "My lord," Chief Adebayo said in his opening statement, "this case is a tragedy. An elderly man suffering from dementia and alcoholism has been brainwashed by a woman who saw an opportunity for wealth. We will prove that this man is not Samuel Okonkwo. And even if he is mentally incompetent and cannot be trusted to manage his own affairs." Tunde stood for his opening. His voice was quiet but strong. "My lord, The evidence will show that Samuel Okonkwo is very much alive and very much sane. It will show that his children, motivated by greed, committed one of the most heinous acts imaginable. They destroyed their own father to steal his life's work. We ask this court for only one thing: justice. The battle was on. The first week of trial focused on Chief's mental competency. The defense brought in psychiatrists who treated Chief at the facility. He showed signs of severe dementia, psychosis, paranoia, Dr. Olumide testified. He was a danger to himself and others, but Tunde was ready. Dr. Olumide, how much were you paid to write those reports? I objection! Chief Adebayo leaped up. Overruled, Judge Adebayo said. Answer the question. I was paid standard consultation fees, Dr. Olumide said nervously. Standard fees of 2 million naira per report. Tunde produced bank records. Paid directly by Emeka Okonkwo? The courtroom gasped. Tunde pressed on. Doctor, did you ever consider that Chief Samuel's symptoms might have been caused by the medications you were giving him? Antipsychotics, some sedatives, drugs that cause confusion. That's a possibility, Dr. Olumide admitted quietly. In fact, Doctor, once Chief Okonkwo stopped taking those medications, once he was removed from your facility, his symptoms disappeared, didn't they? Dr. Olumide said nothing. Answer the question, Judge Adebayo commanded. Yes, the doctor whispered. Yes, they did. The defense was crumbling. Next, Tunde called his own expert, Dr. Chioma Nwosu, a respected psychiatrist from the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital. She had evaluated Chief over the past 2 months. Chief Samuel Okonkwo shows no signs of dementia, Dr. Nwosu testified. His memory is sharp. His cognition is intact. In my professional opinion, he was deliberately over-medicated to create the appearance of mental illness. Emeka shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Ngozi's hands clenched. Chukwu stared at the floor, but the defense wasn't done yet. During a lunch recess, Mercy stepped outside the courthouse for air. The crowds, the cameras, the pressure, it was overwhelming. She stood under a tree trying to breathe when a black SUV pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. A man in dark sunglasses looked out. Mercy Adebayo. Yes, get in. Someone wants to talk to you. I don't think it's not a request. Fear spiked through her. She looked around for help, but the area was strangely empty. Before she could scream, 2 men jumped out, grabbed her arms and shoved her into the vehicle. The SUV sped away. Inside, sitting in the back seat, was Emeka Okonkwo himself. He smiled coldly. Miss Adebayo, we need to have a conversation. Mercy's heart hammered, but she kept her voice steady. This is kidnapping. No, this is a business meeting. Emeka leaned forward. You seem like a smart woman, so let me be clear. You're fighting a battle you cannot win. My family has resources you can't imagine. We own judges, police, politicians. That little lawyer of yours, we could destroy him with a phone call. Then why haven't you? Mercy challenged. Emeka's smile widened. Because I'm giving you a chance. Walk away from this case. We'll pay you 20 million naira cash, plus a house. Plus a job at one of our companies. You'll never have to scrub floors again. Your daughter will go to the best schools. Mercy stared at him. 20 million naira. More money than she'd ever dreamed of. Security for Blessing. Real future. All you have to do, Emeka continued, is convince that old fool to drop the case. Tell him you can't help anymore. Walk away. Everyone wins, Mercy's mind spun. She thought of Blessing, of the tiny apartment, of backbreaking work that paid nothing. Then she thought of Chief Samuel, broken and dying on her doorstep. She thought of the trust in his eyes. She thought of Tunde, fighting despite threats and fear. She looked Emeka dead in the eye. No, Emeka's smile vanished. Excuse me. I said no. Your father trusted you, loved you. And you betrayed him in the worst way possible. You stole everything from him, tried to destroy his mind and threw him away like garbage. I would rather die poor than become anything like you. Emeka's face twisted with rage. You stupid woman. Do you know what happens to people who cross my family? I don't care, Mercy said, her voice ringing with conviction. Because unlike you, I can still look at myself in the mirror. Unlike you, my daughter can be proud of who her mother is. And unlike you, when I die, I'll die with a clean conscience. Emeka raised his hand to strike her. The SUV screeched to a halt. Police officers surrounded the vehicle, guns drawn. Step out of the vehicle with your hands up. The door was yanked open. Tunde was there, his face pale with fear and fury. He pulled Mercy out, checking her for injuries. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine, Mercy gasped. How did you... I saw them take you. I called the police. Mercy, you could have been... His voice broke. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. Don't ever scare me like that again. Emeka was dragged out in handcuffs, shouting, This is harassment. I'll sue all of you. Do you know who I am? Yes, the lead officer said coldly. You're the man who just kidnapped a witness in an active court case. You're under arrest. The kidnapping attempt changed everything. Public opinion began to shift. If the Okonkwo siblings were innocent, why would they resort to such desperate measures? The next day, Tunde called his most important witness, Chief Samuel Okonkwo himself. The courtroom fell silent as the old man walked to the witness stand. He wore the traditional agbada Mercy had bought him, simple but dignified. His head was held high. He placed his hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. Tunde began gently. Chief Okonkwo, please tell the court, who are you? My name is Samuel Okonkwo. I was born in Enugu State in 1956. I built my first company in 1985. By 2010, I owned 7 corporations worth over 50 billion naira. And what happened to those corporations? Chief's voice was steady, but pain flickered in his eyes. My children stole them. After my wife died, I fell into depression. I started drinking. My children saw weakness and they struck. They had me declared incompetent, committed to a facility and drugged me until I couldn't think straight. Then they took everything. Why did they do this? Greed. Chief looked directly at his children, who sat stone-faced at the defense table. I loved them. I gave them everything. But it was never enough. They wanted it all, and they wanted it now. They didn't want to wait for me to die naturally, so they tried to erase me. And what happened when you escaped the facility? I went to the police, to lawyers, to old friends. No one believed me. I looked like a madman, smelled like alcohol, had no documents. My own children had spread rumors that I was dangerous, insane. I had nowhere to go. So I lived on the streets. His voice cracked. For 2 years I slept in gutters. I ate from garbage bins. I drank to forget. I wanted to die. And then... He looked at Mercy, tears streaming down his face. Then an angel found me. Mercy wiped her own tears. She had nothing, Chief continued. Less than nothing. But she took me in, fed me, cleaned my wounds, asked nothing in return. She saved my life when my own children wanted me dead. The courtroom was utterly silent. Tunde let that sink in, then asked, Chief Okonkwo, why are you here today? Because I want justice, not revenge. Not to hurt my children, even though they hurt me. I want justice. I want the world to know what greed can do, and I want to make sure no other elderly person suffers what I suffered. Judge Adebayo leaned forward. Chief Okonkwo, I have one question. If you win this case, if you get your fortune back, what will you do with it? Chief didn't hesitate. I will set up a foundation to help the homeless, the elderly, the forgotten, and I will leave everything else to the woman who proved that kindness still exists in this world. Because she is more my child than the ones who share my blood. Emeka shot to his feet. This is absurd. He's manipulated. That woman has brainwashed him. Bang, the judge's gavel crashed down. Mr. Okonkwo, you will sit down and be silent, or I will hold you in contempt. Emeka sat shaking with rage. Chief Adebayo, the defense lawyer, cross-examined next. Chief Okonkwo, isn't it true that you were an alcoholic? Yes, after my wife died. And isn't it true that alcoholism causes brain damage? It can. But I was evaluated by an independent psychiatrist. Dr. Nwosu testified that my cognition is intact. But you admit you don't remember large portions of the time you were on the streets. I don't remember much because I was drunk. But I remember everything before that. Every business deal, every property, every account number. Test me. Chief Adebayo blinked. Excuse me? Test me, Chief repeated. Ask me about my companies. Ask me details only the real Samuel Okonkwo would know. The lawyer looked at the judge, who nodded. Proceed. For the next hour, Chief Adebayo fired questions. Account numbers, business partners, contract details from 20 years ago. Chief answered every single one perfectly. The defense had no response. Tunde then called a series of witnesses that destroyed the defense's case. Former employees who testified that Emeka Ngozi and Chukwu had forced them to forge documents, threatened them into silence, and fired anyone loyal to Chief Samuel, the asylum administrator, who admitted under oath that he'd been paid to keep Chief drugged and isolated. A forensic accountant who traced billions of naira being siphoned from Chief's companies into the children's personal accounts. Bank officials who confirmed that Chief's original accounts had been emptied within weeks of his commitment. With each witness, the defense crumbled further. Finally, Tunde called Chukwu Okonkwo, the youngest son, to the stand. Chukwu was visibly nervous, sweating despite the air conditioning. He'd always been the weakest link, guilt-ridden, less ruthless than his siblings. "Mr. Okonkwo," Tunde said quietly, "did you participate in declaring your father mentally incompetent?" I did what my brother said. Emeka said it was for the family. Did you believe your father was actually incompetent? Long pause. No, but Emeka said, did you visit your father in the facility? Once, I couldn't go back. He looked so... Chukwu's voice broke. He looked so broken. Did your father recognize you? Yes, he begged me to get him out. He said they were drugging him, that he couldn't think. He said, please, my son, I raised you better than this. Tears ran down Chukwu's face. And I left him there. I left him there because Emeka said it was necessary. Because I wanted the money. Because I'm a coward. The courtroom was frozen, Mr. Okonkwo, Tunde said gently. Tell the court the truth. Did you and your siblings steal your father's fortune? Chukwu looked at Emeka and Ngozi. His brother's face was a mask of fury. His sister shook her head frantically. Then Chukwu looked at his father, the man who'd taught him to ride a bicycle, who'd paid for his education, who'd loved him unconditionally. Yes, Chukwu whispered. We stole everything. We destroyed him. And I can't live with it anymore, Emeka exploded. You fool. You weak, pathetic, bang, bang, bang. Order! Judge Adebayo roared. Mr. Emeka Okonkwo, one more outburst and you'll be removed. But the damage was done. Chukwu had confessed. And with that confession, the case was over. Judge Adebayo took 2 days to deliberate. When court reconvened, the tension was unbearable. The judge's voice was grave. I have reviewed all evidence, heard all testimony. This is one of the most disturbing cases I have ever presided over. He looked at Emeka, Ngozi, and Chukwu. You three committed acts of unimaginable cruelty against your own father. You exploited his grief, destroyed his mind with drugs, stole his life's work, and left him to die on the streets. Your actions are not only criminal, they are evil. Ngozi began to sob. Emeka stared straight ahead, his jaw clenched. However, the judge continued, this case is also a story of hope. Emeka's one woman, a woman with nothing, proved that humanity still exists. He looked at Mercy. Miss Adebayo, your actions restored my faith in human kindness. Mercy's eyes filled with tears. Now my ruling? The judge straightened. I find that Samuel Okonkwo is of sound mind and is the rightful owner of all assets, companies, and properties registered under his name. All transfers made after his commitment are hereby declared null and void. Chief's hands flew to his face. He wept. Furthermore, Emeka Okonkwo, Ngozi Okonkwo Adebisi, and Chukwu Okonkwo are found guilty of fraud, elder abuse, false imprisonment, and conspiracy. You are hereby sentenced to 10 years imprisonment each. All assets stolen from your father will be returned, and you will pay damages of 500 million naira to compensate for his suffering. Bang! The gavel fell. Emeka and Ngozi screamed protests. Security officers moved to restrain them. Chukwu simply bowed his head, accepting his fate. Chief Samuel collapsed into Mercy's arms, sobbing. It's over. It's finally over. Tunde stood beside them, his hand on Chief's shoulder, his eyes on Mercy. They'd won. Against impossible odds, they'd won. The sun set over Lagos in shades of gold and crimson. The garden of Chief Samuel Okonkwo's newly restored mansion was filled with flowers, music and joy. Chief stood at the altar, tears in his eyes as Mercy walked down the aisle. She wore a simple white dress, elegant in its simplicity. Blessing walked beside her as maid of honor, beaming with pride. And waiting at the altar, his heart in his eyes, was Tunde. He looked at Mercy and saw everything he'd ever wanted. Not wealth, not fame, just her. Just this moment. When Chief placed Mercy's hand in Tunde's, he whispered, Take care of my daughter. She saved my life. I will, sir, Tunde whispered back. With everything I have, the pastor smiled. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss." Tunde didn't wait for permission. He pulled Mercy into his arms and kissed her, a kiss full of promise, hope, and love that had been forged in fire. The crowd erupted in cheers. That evening at the reception, Chief Samuel stood to give a speech. "My friends," he said, his voice strong, "I was once a rich man who thought money meant everything. Then I lost it all. I lost my dignity. I lost my mind. I lost my will to live." He looked at Mercy and Tunde sitting together, their hands intertwined. "But in losing everything, I found something far more valuable. I found real family. Not blood family, they betrayed me, but chosen family, the kind that sees you at your worst and loves you anyway." He raised his glass. Mercy saw a dying drunk on her doorstep and chose mercy. Tunde saw an impossible case and chose courage. And together they taught me that wealth isn't measured in naira. It's measured in love. Applause filled the room. Later that night, Chief signed a new will, this time witnessed properly and filed legally. He left his entire fortune to Mercy and Tunde, with instructions to use it to help others. He established the Chief Okonkwo Foundation in his late wife's name, dedicated to helping the homeless, protecting the elderly from abuse, and providing free legal aid to those who couldn't afford it. His old companies were restructured. Corrupt executives were fired. Honest workers were promoted. Within a year, the businesses thrived again, but this time profits went to charity. Chief Samuel lived for 5 more beautiful years. He watched Blessing grow up, saw her graduate top of her class. He held Mercy and Tunde's first child, a son they named Samuel in his honor. And when he died peacefully in his sleep at age 73, surrounded by love, his last words were, "Thank you. Thank you for showing me that home isn't a place, it's people." Mercy stood in front of the Chief Okonkwo Foundation headquarters, a gleaming building in Victoria Island that provided free legal services, medical care and housing assistance to thousands. She was no longer a struggling cleaner. She was the CEO of a Billionaire charitable foundation, but she'd never forgotten where she came from. Every week she visited shelters, spoke to the homeless, listened to their stories, because she remembered the night a dying man appeared at her door and changed her life forever. Tunde ran the legal division, winning case after case for people who couldn't fight for themselves. He'd become one of Nigeria's most respected lawyers, not because he won big cases for big clients, but because he never forgot who he was fighting for. Blessing was in university now, studying law. She wanted to follow in her stepfather's footsteps, to fight for people like the man Mama saved, she said. One evening, as Mercy and Tunde sat on their balcony watching the sunset, she asked, "Do you ever regret it, taking that case? It almost destroyed us." Tunde took her hand and kissed it. "Regret? Never. That case brought me you. It taught me what real justice looks like. It showed me that one person's courage can change the world." Mercy smiled. Chief used to say something before he died. He said, "The richest man isn't the one with the most money, it's the one with the most love." He was right, Tunde said softly. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from gold to purple to deep blue, and somewhere in the great beyond, Chief Samuel Okonkwo smiled, because he'd learned the greatest lesson of all: kindness is never wasted. Love always finds a way. And sometimes, the greatest fortune you can inherit is a heart that refuses to give up on people. Justice had been served, love had triumphed, and mercy, true mercy, had changed everything. If this story touched your heart, moved your spirit, or opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Let the algorithm know that stories of compassion and justice matter. Join our community of truth seekers and story lovers. We bring you epic tales from across the world that inspire courage, challenge power, and celebrate the human spirit. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Tag a friend who believes in the power of kindness. Would you have helped a stranger like Mercy did? Have you ever witnessed someone being restored after losing everything? What act of kindness changed your life? Your voice matters. Let it be heard. Amazing Folktales, where truth meets justice. Subscribe now and never miss a story that could change your life.